Hey everyone, it's Alexander, the real Mr. Robinson. Welcome to the channel. Welcome to the final film in the Godzilla series as of now, and the last movie I'll be doing in this series of watch-alongs. God, I can't believe I started at the beginning of May with the first Godzilla, and then 35 movies later, we are down to the last movie. It's September 3rd with Godzilla King of the Monsters from Michael Dougherty, and I like this movie. I don't love it, but I feel like I'm in the minority when it comes to a lot of my peers who really didn't like the movie. Some of them think it's one of the worst movies of last year. And for me, it's just like I said Tuesday, I wish Godzilla was a little more mainstream, because if more Americans had seen the anime trilogy, especially Planet Eater, then I feel like King of the Monsters would be looked at as a masterpiece by comparison. So yeah, not much. Before we get into this, I have a few announcements. Mentioned in my my watch along for Planet Eater that I was going to get a test for COVID-19. I got the results back and I tested negative, so I'm like the Denzel Washington gif, where it's just this big sigh of relief. Because I was panicked. I turned into a massive wreck over these past few days, over the thought of, like, did I have it or did I not? But thank God I didn't. But even then, it's just like, I weep for everyone who has tested positive, because it's like, I hate that people are still taking this seriously. No, let me rephrase that. I wish more people would take it seriously. I hate the people that think of it as a joke, whatnot, or it's a hoax, because no, it's very real. And just the thought of having it, just the thought that I could have had it was not a joking matter at all. So I'm relieved, but I hope we can just get through this safe and sound. And hopefully things will start to get back to normal once Godzilla vs. Kong comes out in theaters. Hopefully. That's a good way to transition back into Godzilla, because not getting into the depressing side of the world. We're going to talk about Godzilla. I should also mention this. I put this post on my YouTube channel in the community section. I will be doing the Infinity Saga once later down the line. However, it's confirmed that I'm not going to be doing the Infinity Saga watch-alongs until mid-November at the earliest. Turner Jenkins says, at least you didn't end up like Robert Pattinson. That sucks. I wish Robert Pattinson the best, but it sucks that they went back to filming the Batman, and then all of a sudden he got it. And then Dwayne Johnson, just like the day before Robert Pattinson was tested positive, he talked about how his entire family was tested positive. It just it's good to know that that Dwayne Johnson and his family are doing well, because he's one of my favorite actors out there. And next to him and Chris Evans, he's on my straight exceptions list. You can do the math on that. But yeah, I just, please, people, for the love of God, please be careful. Please wear a mask. Please be safe. Be smart. Don't see a whole lot of people. Just be cautious out there. For the love of God, please be safe. Because this thing it's serious. It is dreadfully serious. And the fact that there are people in charge of this country who aren't taking it seriously sucks. Fuck those guys. Whatever. Anyway, back to Godzilla and the YouTube thing. I will be doing the Infinity Saga around mid-November at the earliest in terms of watch-alongs, because I've started a temporary job. I'm working out some things within my personal life, so I don't think I would be able to have time. It with the way things are going in my personal life, I think once everything gets settled will be mid-November. That's why I have that targeted date for my watch along of the MCU. And also, I'm going to start working on some other reviews of new and old movies, as well as my reviews for the Friday the 13th series, which are coming out in October and will end on November 13th, which is a Friday the 13th. So that's an announcement in terms of the MCU watch along. Now I want to just welcome everyone who's in the chat right now. Got a lot more people this time around, which I kind of expected because yeah, I kind of expected there'd be more people this time around since this is an American film, and I assume, even though this movie wasn't a big financial success, I would say more people have seen this than... More mainstream audiences have seen King of the Monsters than they have any of the Japanese films. So, on that sense, I'd say it is a moderate success. But yeah, we got the regulars here, some people who pop up here and there. Glad you all could be here. For those of you who are watching in lurking in the background, I encourage you to interact with the chat and just interact with this watch along in general. If you are watching this in post-production, I encourage you, once the MCU watch along starts, to come in and join in on those, interact with us. It'll be fun. It'll be fun to just revisit the MCU again, like I did last year. But yeah, there's that. If you don't own this movie, because Tevya Smolkin says, I can't watch it since I don't have this on Blu-ray. If you don't own the movie, you can rent this digitally on YouTube. Or if you do have HBO Max, it is on HBO Max. The first Godzilla movie since Terror of Mechagodzilla, where you can watch it on HBO Max. But anyway, yeah, if you want to help support the channel financially, you could go to patreon.com/TheRealMrRobinson. For $1 a month, you get to help support the channel. Once I hit 25 patrons, I'll start doing exclusive watch-alongs for the MCU. And I'm thinking of putting in another goal where if I hit another set of patrons, I will do watch-alongs for TV shows. Because I know my buddies over the Real Rejects do those, which, by the way... Happy 30th birthday to Greg Alba. He's a fantastic guy within the YouTube movie review or Schmodown circle. So happy birthday, Greg. I hope you're having a good one. And yeah, I might consider doing that as a tier later down the line. But if you want to help support the channel financially, you could go to patreon.com. Again, $1 a month. But if you don't have... if you can't support the channel financially, then that's fine. Use your subscriptions to YouTube, and just your views are good enough. And yeah, Justin Toner says, "Cool, Real Rejects are cool guys. They are. If you go to a playlist that I made of appearances or cameos on other YouTube channels, I've done a handful of collaborations with them. The latest I did was a spoiler review for Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, which that was a ton of fun to do. But yeah, Real Rejects are they are cool guys. That being said, let's just start this. Watching it on the good old Blu-ray player again. So for the last time until mid-November for the MCU, I'm going to push the play button right now. This is definitely the Godzilla movie. There are 3 American Godzilla movies out there. 3 types of American Godzilla movies. The first is the Godzilla movie that literally has nothing to do with Godzilla. The second is the Godzilla movie that respects the source material but doesn't copy scenes from the other movies. And then with this intro here, where you got the 3 footsteps and Godzilla's roar, this is more of the Godzilla movie where they do the things in other franchise films where they pay homage to certain scenes from other movies. But given that this franchise is not as beloved by the mainstream as, at least in America, And the fact that there's 30 plus Godzilla movies, you don't have to, like, the references are not as obvious, like, say, in a Terminator movie. And there's little Morgan Stark. So weird that, just a month after Endgame came out, the same girl that played Morgan Stark would end up playing the younger version of Millie Bobby Brown in this movie. It is kind of weird that Godzilla would just disappear for 5 years. Right Guy 2015. Hey, Mr. Robinson, have you listened to the director's commentary for this film? No, I have not. I'd like to, because I've grown to be a big fan of Michael Dougherty's work, especially Trick or Treat, which I love. I love Trick or Treat. You know, something I gotta say right here. Oh yeah, Justin Toner says, O'Shea Jackson Jr., aka Little Ice Cube. Yeah, that's a familiar roar. Yeah, he talks about how. I remember in one of the behind the scenes footage, he talks about some of the Godzilla monsters, although he disses Gigan. Like, he says, apparently he's not a Gigan fan. Yeah, in terms of Kyle Chandler, it's weird that he would pop up in Peter Jackson's King Kong, then he would be in this, Godzilla King of the Monsters, which is connected to another interpretation of Kong, which he's going to be in Godzilla vs. Kong whenever that comes out. Now, it's been a while since I've watched Stranger Things. I mean, I watched all the seasons, but is that other scientist, isn't he the teacher in Stranger Things? Or am I, I have Wikipedia. I'm just going to look that up right now. This feels like something out of Stranger Things. Okay, that is the teacher from Stranger Things. Stranger Things is a fantastic show. Like, if you love the old school, Spielberg from the days of E.T., Poltergeist, and Gremlins, or even Stephen King stuff, Stranger Things is right up your alley. They did a good job of redesigning the Mothra larva to where it could be threatening. Because Mothra larva in the original movies always looked like, well, Chris Cox from oneofus.net summed it up best. Mothra larva always looked like a piece of poop, like just this brown turd crawling around. But here, the Mothra larva actually looks like a caterpillar and can be scary. Also much smaller than how Mothra larva is usually scaled up to in terms of it being next to humans. I would not say the Mothra larva from the original Mothra was scary. So, okay, there's a shot coming up. There's a shot coming up of Mothra. Yeah, when she leans forward, that was used in the first trailer. This shot right here. I can't tell you how many. I can't tell you how many people thought that was Gamera, and I'm like, you've got to be kidding me! Like, really? It is weird that the color, like, changes when she's around, or depending on her mood. Oh yeah, here comes the stupid part of the movie. Like, I don't know. I do not like this. I don't know. I have mixed feelings on this part. such a private meeting, government meeting. I don't know where Gamera is. I think because people didn't rush out to see Gamera the Brave, so... And, the studio just doesn't have faith to bring Gamera back, which I think they'd want to since Shin Godzilla had a big successful run in Japan. Yeah, when the sequel was announced, I thought there was no reason to bring back Aaron Taylor Johnson because his story ended. Like his story in that movie was just to come back home to his family. And I was like, look, if you're gonna bring any characters back from the first movie, Ken Watanabe and Sally Hawkins were the only two you could bring back. So that was a smart choice. So what they didn't show us in the 2014 movie was straight up Muto porn. Saying that season 8 of Game of Thrones got weird is being so generous because that season was garbage. Yeah. Oh, there's that was Tony Stark's cabin in Endgame. So yeah, two Endgame references in this movie that I think was by pure accident. And don't believe, like, if you look it up on YouTube, yeah, that cabin that Kyle Chandler's character is living at is the same cabin that Tony Stark and Pepper Potts live in. Yeah, I gotta say, someone mentioned it in the chat. Razorbyke. I usually love Thomas Middleditch, but he's just uncomfortably awkward here, and to an extent, Bradley Whitford is too. Yeah, it's crazy that again there'd be two elements of Endgame that pop up in this movie a month after Endgame came out. So Rodan, Godzilla. Just looking at the list of Titans they have. Behemoth, Kong. It is a shame that we don't get, like, the movie's mostly focused on Godzilla versus King Ghidorah. With Rodan and Mothra playing roles as well, but it would have been cool to see some other Titans as well. Like a lot of the more original ones. So yeah, this is the movie where Monarch truly becomes like there's no hiding the fact that um there's the Muto head. Yeah, this is the movie that, without a doubt, proved that Monarch is pretty much the Godzilla equivalent of S.H.I.E.L.D. So pretty much Charles Dance's character is a more sinister Ron Perlman from Pacific Rim. I mean, the base and Destroy All Monsters was like in the middle of Monsterland, so I don't think it's really. I think it's more underground, not underwater like this in this movie. It's weird how much O'Shea Jackson Jr. looks like his dad. Yeah, Bradley Whitford's character said numerous times that Bradley Whitford's character is based off Rick from Rick and Morty, which I haven't seen enough of Rick and Morty to really say, but the stuff I've seen of Rick, I I don't I don't think I agree. You know, if I was Madison, I would be very suspicious by the fact that my mother's incredibly calm about this. I don't, so, not really a subtle way to flip somebody off, but it's I don't know. The humor in this is kind of mixed for me. That's a creepy image. It's like you know who that is. You don't really need. And I love how they give it the code name of Monster Zero. Which, that's something that kind of bugged me when people were giving negative reviews towards this. Like, wait, some people call it Monster Zero, some people call it King Ghidorah. Which one is it? I'm like, this is why I wish Godzilla was more mainstream. Because y'all know that Monster Zero is Ghidorah's code name. Here's something that I think is incredibly stupid. Considering that this is all Emma's plan, not the eco-terrorists, but this is Emma's doing. How and being a former employee at Monarch, how are you not aware that this thing is not from Earth? Like, how, like, you must know that that's a bad idea. I mean, it's like we as Godzilla fans know that releasing Ghidorah is a terrible idea, but within this universe, you'd have to think that's a terrible idea in its own way. It would be. Hold on one second. Maser cannons. Yeah, they have maser cannons in this, which we don't see them use. But I'd like to see Godzilla doing all this stuff that they're talking about. But there is something kind of claustrophobic about, like, not. There's something claustrophobic about not being able to see what Godzilla's doing, and just having all the blast doors closed. This movie's definitely more colorful than the last one. And this scene's creepy too. Just like staring into a deep abyss, with the only thing that's providing light being Godzilla's spines and glowing blue eyes. James Bond 007 says, I would have liked to see them use the maser cannon, though. Well, we got another movie coming up, so maybe they'll have a maser cannon there. Since the maser cannons in the series has been proven to not do anything to Godzilla, but is harmful towards the Gargantuas, maybe they use it on Kong and it's harmful against him. They showed that in the trailer, but when I saw this at the press screening, and they showed this to critics in an IMAX screening, and even knowing that shot pops up in the trailer, even though you do see that shot in the trailer, when that moment happens, it scared the shit out of me. Nothing good. So if Castle Bravo is Monarch's Triskelion from Winter Soldier, then the Argo's pretty much the helicarrier. So I guess... Okay, so I guess nobody's aware that Ghidorah's not supposed to be part of this world. That was fast. Aliens much? Look at that foot. Yeah, some people have said that with that shot of Ghidorah's foot, some people thought it was Rodan. I'm like, in the trailer we saw Rodan come out of a volcano and Ghidorah being frozen in ice. Why would Rodan be there also? Wow, that's screwed up, Razorbike. I mean, it's not really. I don't know. I guess it's a. I guess you would consider it a surprise, but if you saw the IMAX preview in front of Shazam and Endgame, then they show that in the preview, so it wasn't really a surprise to me. Well, maybe. I don't know. It's like, of course, Monarch would be on your tail. Uh, no pun intended. If you're messing with their bases or infiltrating them. Oh, those poor bastards. This is a great build-up. Yeah, forget those space noodles in the last movie. This is Ghidorah. Such a really great build-up. Yeah, what do you guys think that's gonna do? Yeah, poor bastards. That was lucky. Yeah, Ghidorah's having a pretty difficult time smashing that tiny helicopter. It's like, is it made out of vibranium? 'Cause it should not, like Ghidorah crushing that helicopter should be like smashing your thumb up against a bug. Like, it should not be that hard. We know who, you know who is here. There's the Ifukube theme. Like, really, it really would not be a Godzilla movie without Ifukube's theme. James Bond says, "Who cares, Alex? I care." Like, sometimes you gotta go by like simple logic. And look at the size of Ghidorah compared to the helicopter. He should not have had that much trouble destroying that thing. And yeah, the helicopter gets bumped by Godzilla's tail and stays intact. Yeah, you know, one of the most frustrating things about this movie is the monster versus monster fights, and I will still stand by that statement. Because people want to complain about the lack of monster fights in the first Godzilla, or Gareth Edwards' film. But when the monster fights happen, you could see them clearly. They're at long distance shots, and they're not close up like in this movie. And they don't cut away during the fight like this one does. There's really briefly there is the 54 roar. Yeah, they're not wasting time showing his atomic breath, which actually looks like a beam this time and not breath like in the last movie. And of course, we need to have Godzilla fall down a hole again. You know, that can't provide much food for Ghidorah. Like, that should be the equivalent of eating one Cheerio. One thing I love about this movie as well is that this is the first movie where Godzilla and Ghidorah's rivalry is very similar to Gamera and Gauss in the Heisei trilogy, where like the term of them being arch enemies was always kind of more in a sense that Godzilla's fought Ghidorah the most. This continuity, they established that Ghidorah and Godzilla have been rivals for a long time, so that I like. This moment coming up here is probably the biggest eye roll in the entire movie for me. Like, I'm sorry, this part is just, ugh. I mean, what her argument is not wrong per se. I mean, because yeah, look at global warming, but and COVID-19, but just the fact that she wants to do it and the fact that she screwed up so bad by releasing Ghidorah, just like she's trying to sound sane, but she's just come across as a crazy person. No, James Bond says that, yeah, that's the point. I'm actually supposed to be crazy. You're supposed to at least. Well, what makes a good villain is where you kind of see where they're coming from. Because this is pretty much like a. This is pretty much like trying to do Thanos's motivation, but not really understanding it with a villain that. I don't know. I just hate this scene so much where she breaks down her evil plans. Like, we're supposed to have sympathy for her, but that's my reaction right there. Like, you have to realize that you have to, with a good villain, you have to be with, you have to understand where they're coming from, and in a way have sympathy for them, even if you don't agree. That's not the case with Emma here. Like, they. I don't know. Yeah, Razorback summed it up best. I'm gonna avenge the death of my son by killing everyone's child. Now, like, if she was, if she was blackmailed by Charles Dance, then I could understand that. Like, I could be, but the fact that this is all her doing. All right, moving on to something less stupid. Anytime now. Okay, maybe this is me nitpicking, but how does Rodan roar while being submerged in lava? Everyone at that Monarch station on the volcano went deaf, if not burned alive by the explosion. Yeah, after cameoing as a skeleton in the anime trilogy, it's time to give Rodan his due. I love how they respect the, like, how his first appearance is like in Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster, where he just pops out of a volcano. Oh, that's a coincidence. Yeah, that's not gonna piss it off. Somebody asked what my favorite scene in this movie was. It's honestly this chase between Rodan and Monarch. Ironically, it's the scene in the movie that one of the big scenes in the movie that does not have Godzilla. And of course, those people are able to not get blown away by Rodan's hurricane. Those arms would have been ripped off. Oh, those poor bastards. A shot ripped straight from the giant claw. Like anyone who's seen the giant claw, there's a shot where a pilot ejects from his plane, and then the bird eats him. Very similar to Rodan in this moment. I love how Rodan's wings are constantly burning. I know we've already seen Ghidorah, but that reveal from the clouds with the lightning is scary. And then just to emphasize how huge Ghidorah is. That wide shot of Rodan and Ghidorah charging at each other in the sky. I remember, like, when that image first popped up, before the movie came out, people were like, "Oh, Rodan's screwed." It's like, you gotta give Rodan props for bravery, but he's not gonna last long against Ghidorah. Yeah, that moment was unneeded. Yeah, he again, give him props for bravery. I hate this moment as well. Like, I knew the oxygen destroyer was going to be in this movie somehow, since Michael Dougherty tweeted a photo of it, but to make it a weapon, to make the oxygen destroyer a weapon, and then not follow up on it in this movie, it's like you just took the biggest emotional point of the original film and just kind of betrayed it. I don't know. Like, it bugs me that they just brought in the oxygen destroyer as a full-blown weapon in this movie. And that it has no effect, really. Like, it has no effect, and there's no repercussions later on. Unless the oxygen destroyer plays a part in Godzilla vs. Kong again. I mean, I get the reason for bringing it in, because you need to have Godzilla out of commission so Ghidorah can be king. But but um but there could have been another method. And Godzilla comes in to save the day. Right there. Um, I wouldn't say this betrays Destroya's origins too, because because Destroya because Destroya ended up being an effect because of the oxygen destroyer. So so that doesn't really, and plus Destroya has not appeared in this series, nor do I think he will. So I don't mind it. I mean, I guess it's a cool idea to kind of show what would what would have happened if the oxygen destroyer was fully weaponized, as the original Serizawa feared. But again, this is not canon with the original Godzilla, and the fact that they just kind of ignore it like it's nothing later on and has no ramifications later in the film is, and the fact that it's also uh, brought up out of nowhere with no build up, that's that doesn't work. I mean, again, it does put Godzilla out of commission, but it doesn't kill him. Spoiler for anyone who's not seen this movie, but if you scream spoiler alert that Godzilla lives, then I got $1 million beach house to sell you. This is a cool new trait that they've given Ghidorah. Like the ability to just regenerate a head. Um, and then you could barely... All these other original monsters show up that we barely get to see. Yeah, that's going to cause some massive earthquakes. Yeah, you screwed up, Emma. Hey, there's Miles Dyson. That's I actually never realized that that was supposed to be the same character from Kong Skull Island that was played. I forget the actor's name, but he's played by the actor who played Dr. Dre in Straight Outta Compton. Yeah, this series has a lot of MCU alumni and three Straight Outta Compton alumni. But yeah, I never really put it together that this was the same character until my friend Eric Rodriguez, aka Nerd Chronic, brought it up when he invited me onto his podcast to talk about this movie. And also, I feel incredibly foolish that on my first viewing of this movie, I wait for it. I do love the fact that they bring in the Mothra theme. But yeah, I felt incredibly foolish not knowing that she was a different character in that scene. I just thought the same character just suddenly popped up to Mothra's hatching site. And then went straight back to the Argo. I didn't realize that that's supposed to be your twin sister for obvious Mothra reasons until seeing the movie a second time. Yeah, somebody said Yeah, and then this moment here, like, it's cool, so cool that, um, so cool that this little nod to Mothra and the fact that both Infant Island and Skull Island coexist in the same continuity. Justin Turner says, I was not expecting them to do the twins, and that runs in her family. Another thing I wasn't expecting. Another thing I wasn't expecting this series to do with Ghidorah is actually make him an alien from outer space. Because I assumed, okay, this is a more realistic take on the Godzilla series. So they're going to have to rework some of the monster's origins. But no, they decided to make Ghidorah's origins true to the original, where he is from space. So I really give Dougherty credit for making Ghidorah an alien. Yeah, it doesn't make sense for there to be an original monster that's a spider, considering that Kumanga exists. I'm gonna butcher her name, but Zhang Ziyi. I feel like I butchered her name, but she's from Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, Memoirs of a Geisha, House of Flying Daggers, and like this is the 20th anniversary of Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, and she doesn't age. I mean, look at who your president of the United States is. And I think because Kong, somebody asked, people keep saying, why didn't Kong respond to Ghidorah's call? I think because Kong is considered another alpha, therefore he's not gonna bow to Godzilla. So why in the world would he bow to? Why in the world would he bow to, as Serizawa puts it, a false king? Because I think Godzilla and Kong are, again, this is all speculation, but I feel like Godzilla and Kong would be on their own term, like on their own turfs, ruling their own areas, and there'd be mutual respect. Ghidorah's not gonna, like, Kong's not gonna bow to Ghidorah. You didn't answer my question. Where are you gonna go? Yeah, I'm not too bummed that David Strathairn uh, isn't in the movie that much because he was really much a supporting player in the first Godzilla. So I don't see him as he didn't really need to play a big part in this film. And then everyone on Castle Bravo got blown away. So again, the oxygen destroyer, waste of time. The biggest thing, like for all the problems that this movie has, and I still stand by a lot of the criticisms. Um, what was I gonna say? Yeah, I do love how Doherty like kind of expands in this, like with the biology of these monsters more than Toho has ever done. Like it makes the monsters individually more interesting. And even though like I've criticized the Fantastic Beast movies and the Star Wars prequels for focusing solely on world building more than an actual good story, um, again, I do love what Doherty does with this world building. Now, if I'm correct, I don't know if somebody spotted it or if Michael Dougherty confirmed this, but when we get to Godzilla's resting spot, isn't there a skeleton there that represents Anguirus? I'm seeing you guys in the chat talking about uh, the fandom shipping Mothra and Godzilla, which I don't think is anything new before this movie came out. I think fans have been doing that forever. But Still not as still not as bad as Raylo. And I've just lost a lot of subscribers by saying that. Sorry, I don't like Raylo. Yeah, as much as it would be cool to explore the ocean, you would never, ever get me in a million years to go in a submarine. Like, I just I can't do it. I do wish we saw more of these new original monsters. Especially that weird, woolly mammoth that doesn't even have a tusk. Like, it took me a couple of viewings of this movie to realize that, oh, the behemoth titan doesn't even have a tusk like elephants would. There's some beautiful imagery in this movie, especially the shots where you see Ghidorah's silhouettes in the clouds. That's what I mean, trunk. So I guess that skeleton to the left of the screen back there was supposed to be Anguirus. Yeah, I'm not a sports fan, so I could care less. You know, I just said that I'm not a sports fan, so I could care less about how Yankees fans felt about Fenway Park getting blown up, but I'm more of a Boston guy than a New York guy. Now, in terms of, like, visiting the cities, Boston has a special place in my heart, but I don't think I could ever live in Boston. Levy Gifford says, I hope we get that prehistoric Godzilla movie someday. Doherty has talked about making a prequel um, where it, like, basically it's a prehistoric Godzilla movie. I would love to see that, but I would, in general, like to see a Godzilla period piece. I would love to see, like, a Godzilla movie made that doesn't take place in the modern day. Like, yeah, I think, like just a period piece Godzilla movie would be awesome. There he is. Yeah, that's kind of that little my god Zilla is I don't know, kind of dumb. Too bad we don't get to see Godzilla walk out of his front door like in Zone Fighter. I don't think we'll ever. Spider's Prime says, I want a MonsterVerse Gamera movie set in the 80s. I mean, Kadakawa's not using Gamera, um, but I have a feeling we're never going to see Godzilla fight Gamera. I think that's just. Like, Toho wasn't up for the idea at all. Um, and, like, people talk about. Like, I've had people tell me that Godzilla's a niche character in the United States, which, I mean, it's one of those things where it's like people know Godzilla, but he's not super popular like in Japan. But then when people suggest to bring in Gamera in the MonsterVerse, I just go, okay, you think Godzilla's a niche character? It's amazing how all the people evacuating in Fenway Stadium managed to ignore the fact that this teenager got in there. Yet, the Behemoth doesn't have a trunk. Or it just has two tusks like a woolly mammoth. Yeah, what'd you think? And how did you guys, like, allow that to happen? You had the shittiest security job in the world. But I mean, Mr. Bond, you want to think that um, they'd want to get her to safety and to make sure that everyone's been evacuated. So why would you miss one person who's not supposed to be where they are and who's not in a safe area? Or is that skeleton there? Was that supposed to be Anguirus? I don't know. Whatever the case, Anguirus needs to come back. See, I don't think it's saying that Serizawa's death in this movie is like Superman's death in Batman vs Superman is not the same. That they're not the same at all, because this is technically an original character. Um and we do get to know more about him more than we do Snyder's Superman. And plus with thousands of comics around the Man of Steel, it's for Snyder to kill him off in the second movie is damn near insulting. Um, my problem with killing Serizawa in this movie more has to do with the fact that you killed the only Japanese actor, the only Japanese character in a series that had its roots set firmly in Japan. I mean, luckily there's another. They're gonna have another Japanese character in Godzilla vs Kong, and it would be cool if that movie actually had scenes in Japan. Because with the exception of the first half of the 2014 Godzilla and having Ken Watanabe in this movie sucks out any hint of any trace of Japan. That's the second time somebody's been able to touch Godzilla. You could barely tell that's Anguirus, that skeleton that got blown up. Um, Dead. Some of those crew members should have had broken bones. I hope that the Japanese actor in that they got in Godzilla vs Kong, I hope that it's not Serizawa's son, because I have a big problem with it's the Star Wars thing where, like, I hate trying to forcefully connect characters um, that really don't need to have any connection. Uh, Shun Oguri is the Japanese actor they have in Godzilla vs Kong. There's Ifukube's theme again. Oh, by the way, y'all gonna get radiation poisoning from Godzilla launching his breath in the sky. That zoom up, like that really quick zoom up of Godzilla's hilarious. I mean, they did it with Rodan as well, but I think it's funnier with Godzilla. He really is huge. Like, the one thing I love about the Legendary movies is that they really give you a sense of how huge these monsters are compared to humans. Which something that Shin Godzilla never really did, despite being CG and despite doing stuff that despite doing stuff that the older movies could never do. None of the human characters really got up close to Godzilla like they do in the MonsterVerse. Yeah, a bunch of armed guards around there. What do you think is gonna happen? I would not. I don't. I'm not. I don't know about the thought of this movie being pro-nuclear. I wouldn't say so. Yeah, hot. Run inside. Like, I'm not even waiting. Like, if I were in her position, I'm not waiting a second. Uh, the second I see like an incoming storm, I am booking it. And also, I would stay hidden. There's a Dunkin' Donuts ad. Yeah, you screwed up there. Yeah, what did you think was gonna happen? Ghidorah's having a lot of difficulty killing off the main human characters. Like, I get that they're supposed to live because they're the main characters, but like for all three of Ghidorah's heads to launch their gravity beams to try to kill Madison and miss, it's kind of silly. Like, too silly for a monster movie. Godzilla really does do a lot of last minute saves in this movie. There's the classic roar without the legendary modifications. It is kind of weird that they turned Godzilla into Gamera in this series, where he's bringing balance to the he's bringing balance to the world, and he's the hero, but at the same time he doesn't really, he's not overly conscious about human casualties, which again is another reason why Gamera is never going to be in this series, because if they bring Gamera into the MonsterVerse and they base him off the Heisei trilogy, then Godzilla and Gamera are going to be the same creatures pretty much. That's the first time I've ever seen Godzilla run. Now, if I'm correct, doesn't it like the maximum temperature that Godzilla can reach in this movie is 12,000 degrees, just like in Destroya? I know I've said this a lot, but those poor bastards. So there's a shot coming up where Mark finds the orca, and then it pans up to Godzilla and or no, then it like tilts up to Godzilla and Ghidorah fighting, and if you listen carefully, you can hear the Heisei roar that Ghidorah has. Yeah, right there. If you listened carefully, you could have heard Ghidorah's Heisei roar. That's a cool moment. Like, I mean, we knew Mothra could shoot webs, but we've never seen the adult Mothra do that. And this is, like, when we did Final Wars, this is kind of the final battle that I wish Final Wars was, where you actually have Godzilla and Mothra legitimately teaming up against Ghidorah. It's like they're both in frame as well, and then Rodan comes in and is pretty much taking Gigan's role in Final Wars, where it's like Ghidorah's focused on Godzilla and Rodan's focused on Mothra. They did a good job of making Boston appear apocalyptic. I don't know. Rodan seems to be, with Mothra fighting Rodan. Rodan honestly seems to have the upper hand over Mothra. I like that little like raising of the eyebrows that Godzilla does. Yeah, I'm sorry. There are a lot of shots in this movie where you can't make out what's going on. And miraculously, the Argo doesn't get out unscathed, but it doesn't get destroyed. Yeah, they give these monsters a lot of personality. So yeah, Mothra is the one who's getting beat up more than Rodan. And she pretty much bitch slaps Rodan. And we never see Mothra have a stinger. I mean, she had one in GMK, but it was more like she shot little stinger bullets. It didn't really work as like a stinger the way insects would. It's funny how they make Rodan. They have Rodan fall from the building as if, like, he's falling down a bottomless pit. I'm like, you're only, like, compared to. Considering how big Rodan is, his fall is pretty much the equivalent of falling down one story, where it's gonna hurt, but it's not gonna kill you. Yeah, I know some people that say that this movie, like this movie's characters, or at least um the story with the family here, the Russell family, is better and more investing than in Gareth Edwards' Godzilla with Aaron Taylor Johnson. But honestly, Aaron Taylor Johnson's story was a little more relatable. It was more simple. and wasn't bogged down by a bunch of stupid stuff like this movie was. Again, there's some beautiful imagery in this movie, like when Ghidorah, like, basically lifts Godzilla in the sky and drops him. And I think out of all the references that this movie has to the Toho films, this one coming up is probably the most obvious. Because you've got Godzilla, Mothra, and King Ghidorah. Um, and Mothra pretty much sacrifices her life here to give Godzilla strength, the way she sacrificed her life to Godzilla to give Ghidorah strength in GMK. Except I think this is a little better, honestly. Just because, like, there's the in GMK there was the initial what the hell of seeing Ghidorah being the good guy, and this movie it just makes more sense because Ghidorah is the villain, and evil. And again, just like in Final Wars, Ghidorah, you have a Ghidorah type monster sucking the life out of Godzilla by biting it, and then humanity intervenes to save Godzilla. Like I feel like this movie, I feel like this movie's finale is like if we focused more. Is like Final Wars if we focused on the monsters more than the humans. So yeah, then humanity intervenes to save Godzilla, and then later on, Godzilla's going to be supercharged, giving him the advantage against Ghidorah. You know, in theory, um, she could just leave the Orca, just some random place, because Ghidorah's obviously going to go after the Orca, not the helicopter. I do like how Ghidorah does like use his wings as front feet, like a lot of other dragons would, instead of just walking on 2 feet all the time with his wings out like the old suitmation. I also would have done the GTA thing where I just go down a straight path, jump out of the car, and then roll out. That way, again, Ghidorah, well, I guess it wouldn't have mattered anyway because of what's going to happen next. So yeah, in Japan, when Godzilla is burning up, he's having a heart attack. In America, he goes Super Saiyan. And again, I think more than any other monster, this is the most brutal monster death in the entire franchise. And then you can see Mothra's wings and hear her cry when Godzilla unleashes that atomic pulse. So yeah, think about it. Like, Ghidorah's wings got burnt off. Like that's the first point of torture. Both the right and left wings get blown away to where only the middle head remains. Godzilla crushes Ghidorah's chest, causing him to explode. And as if Godzilla's pulses weren't enough, that explosion is bound to make Boston uninhabitable. And then we get the third most brutal thing for Ghidorah. Right, one of these shots, Dougherty did confirm that ship right there is the same ship, or it's supposed to be the same ship from the crappy Hanna-Barbera show. But yeah, as if it wasn't enough to have your entire body disintegrated. Like, the middle head, you think the middle head survived until you realize that Godzilla's eating it. And you can hear another use of the Heisei roar. Yeah, Godzilla not only devours the head, but then, like, blows it to smithereens with the atomic breath. So again, like, no monster has ever gotten it that bad in terms of death by Godzilla. And then, I say the Rodan scene is my favorite, but this last moment I love as well. It's so weird seeing a woolly mammoth with Godzilla. It's so weird. There's the Queen Muto. And yet, much like this movie, like, actually made Godzilla and Ghidorah have a historic rivalry beyond the meta sense. This is the first movie that, gives Godzilla's subtitle true meaning. Because, like, again, for 65 years, like the name Godzilla King of the Monsters was just a name to give the American version a little more flair, because that was what monster movies were named like back then. But it's funny how that name, more like, especially in that scene, really solidifies that Godzilla is the king of the monsters. And then we get a cool cover of Blue Oyster Cult's Godzilla song. Which, this is the first, like, this song was written in the 70s. I think. Pulls the spinning high-tension wires down. 1977, so 2 years after the Heisei series ended. And this is the first time that a version of this song has ever been used in a movie, which I think is cool. And one of the coolest things I've seen on YouTube was There was the last year's G Fest. They had a screening for King of the Monsters, and the entire theater did a whole sing along of this song during the credits. They say he's got to go, 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 Godzilla. Ooh. And there's Sarah Haley Flynn again, the unsung hero of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Tokyo, go, go, Godzilla. I still love the fact that they brought back the style of credits. This is an awesome cover. This is an awesome cover of Blue Oyster Cult's Godzilla. No. They say he's got to go, 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 Godzilla. And I love how, like, the credits are just, like, they form their own little story and then lead up to the movie that we should have seen if it wasn't for this stupid pandemic. Soon. We'll get to that movie soon. Hopefully when the world's in a better place. But, yeah, in the MonsterVerse, the MonsterVerse has a way of really killing off the enemy monsters in such brutal manners. Because there was the kiss of death in Godzilla where the Muto's neck pretty much crumbled because I like in the credits they say Godzilla, King Ghidorah, Mothra, and Rodan as Godzilla's himself, King Ghidorah as himself, Mothra as herself, and Rodan as himself. Even though there is a motion capture actor credited for playing Godzilla. And let me pull this guy up. So there is a mid-credit scene because, of course, in connected universe movies, there has to be one. TJ Storm plays Godzilla not only in this movie, but also in the 2014 film. And he's appeared in Punisher Warzone. He was a Klingon interrogator in Agitator he was a Klingon agitator in Star Trek. J.J. Abrams' Star Trek. He did the motion capture for Colonel Korch's mech suit in Avatar. He did motion capture for Parallax in Green Lantern. Ugh. He did motion capture for Iron Man in the suit in Captain America Civil War when it's not showing Robert Downey Jr. He did motion capture for Colossus in Deadpool, even though Colossus is voiced by somebody entirely different, I think. Yeah. And then, of course, he played Godzilla in this movie, the last one, and he's going to play Godzilla in Godzilla vs. Kong, I think. He's not credited. But anyway, yeah. And yeah, that shot with Godzilla roaring and the other monsters bowing might be my favorite shot in the entire franchise as well. And it's, I do love how Bear McCreary brought in Ifukube's Godzilla theme and the original Mothra theme by Yuji Koseki. But I am a little bummed that he didn't bring in Ifukube's Rodan or Ghidorah themes. I mean, the themes that he makes for Rodan and Ghidorah are effective as well. But, yeah, I think Ifukube's themes are just better. Like, But whatever. Yeah, this movie, I really, I get the criticisms that a lot of my peers have said about it. I don't think it's as bad as people make it out to be. This is nowhere near. This is nowhere near among one of the worst movies of last year. I mean, it's like this. It's no Cats. It's no Lion King. It's no Dumbo. It's no Rambo: Last Blood. Like, there's so many other movies that came out last year that were infinitely worse. And honestly, unless you were Disney, last year was not a great year for big special effects movies. And out of all the special effects movies that came out last year and underperformed, King of the Monsters is actually the best one. Like, I'd take it over Men in Black International. I'd take it over Dark Phoenix. Yeah, this is probably the best out of all the underperforming 2019 sequels. Yeah, as the credits roll, this has been my watch along for Godzilla King of the Monsters, and yeah, 35 movies. That is crazy. 39 movies twice a week since the beginning of May. It's all over now. And of course, once again, we have Ifukube's Godzilla theme. So as we let this theme play out, I want to say thank you guys for tuning in, and thank you to everyone who's tuned in to every one of these watch-alongs, if not most of them. Or, yeah, most of these watch-alongs, if not all of them. And again, once I get to, once mid-November comes around, that's when I'll start my MCU watch-along. Again, it's going to be chronological order, starting with Captain America, the First Avenger, and ending with Spider-Man Far From Home. And then after the MCU, I'm moving on to Star Wars, and then finishing off these free-for-all watch-alongs with Harry Potter. After Harry Potter, though, if you guys want exclusive watch-alongs, you're going to have to support, become a patron on patreon.com. Again, $1 a month. Once we hit 25 patrons, I will start doing exclusive watch-alongs for everyone who subscribes to Patreon. And I'm seriously considering doing watch-alongs for TV shows now. I think that would be a ton of fun as well. And it will give me an excuse to watch more TV, if anything. Yeah, if you guys are watching this in post, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed the movie as well, considering that this is kind of a controversial film. And, yeah, look forward to some other reviews in the future, including my review for Bill and Ted Face the Music, some old classic movies, the Friday the 13th series, Community, which I'm still planning to do a series review on. And again, if you can't support the channel financially through Patreon, then your subscriptions to YouTube and your video views are all that I need right here. This moment right here where they dedicate the movie to Yoshimitsu Banno and Haruo Nakajima and show behind the scenes photo from Ebirah Horror of the Deep. That, I think, that got a huge applause at the press screening from the people who were like, it was when I saw this movie, it was half a press screening and half a like public first come first serve screening or preview screening. And those that weren't critics and those that were actual Godzilla fans, including one of my coworkers, cheered when Nakajima's picture was shown. Clearly showing that in terms of American Godzilla movies, this isn't the best, but we've come a long way since Roland Emmerich's Disaster. And someone asked what my favorite MonsterVerse film is. I still think the Gareth Edwards Godzilla is the best. Then Skull Island, and then this one. So yeah, let's see if they follow that up in a future movie. I doubt they're gonna follow it up in Godzilla vs. Kong, since Charles Dance is not credited to being in that movie. But we'll see. And I should probably point this out as well. Since I've done watch-alongs on YouTube for all the Godzilla movies, when more Godzilla movies come out, and this also applies to MCU movies, I will be doing watch-alongs for everyone. Like, I don't think it's fair that I did Godzilla movies and MCU movies on YouTube, and then every future movie from here on out is exclusive to patrons. I will do Godzilla watch-along, future Godzilla watch-alongs, and future MCU watch-alongs for everyone on YouTube. And yeah, that sums it up. So yeah, thank you guys. Yeah, 35 movies are already done, and yeah, here's hoping things get better for when Godzilla vs. Kong comes out. And until then, this is the real Mr. Robinson telling you there's only one.